problem. Good evening and welcome to the August 25th, 2025 Policy Review Committee meeting. I will start by taking roll. Director Bevilacqua?
Here.
Director Christie?
Here.
Director Walmsley? Here. And I am here, so all four of us are here. Do we have any public comment?
Yes, there is one public comment this evening.
Okay.
All right, and so I'll just call up the requester, Judy DeFonso.
Good evening, Judy DeFonso. Still living, same place, still in East Goshen. Nothing's changed all that much. Talking about policies tonight. This started numerical order here. 235.1 AG2. I know that sometimes with gifted high school students, they'll do an independent study project, and again, that may involve a survey. And the whole idea behind doing something like that is often to share it publicly. I know that at the end of the year, the Gifted Pack does a kind of a celebration of giftedness where something like that would have been presented prior to this policy being in effect. And I'm just thinking that there maybe should be a way of approving certain research studies that they could be shared publicly. 801 AG3, I noticed that the fee schedule is silent on the cost to have something emailed to the requester. I'm assuming that it would be free if there's no cost listed on the fee schedule, but I was wondering if it shouldn't be included for clarification purposes. In reading over policy 803, which requires the superintendent to prepare the calendar. I've never been at a meeting where the superintendent had presented about the calendar. Dr. Missett has always been the designee, but it looks like the policy doesn't allow for a designee, and I'm thinking that maybe the policy should mention that a designee can be the person who does the calendar. So either that or we have to promote Dr. Missett to superintendent. Either way, it works for me. You want to follow the policy. Evacuation drills and plans, let's just say I never liked the one on NGL pipeline leaks where you bring everyone into the building before you evacuate. That kind of goes against what the general public is told to do with an NGL leak. Policy 805.2 mentions Safe to Say. I think that we need to remind students that it's out there. I know when Safe to Say came out, there was a big to-do about letting kids know how to access the system. And I know I had talked to my sons like 2 years later and they had totally forgotten about it. So I'm thinking that, it's an excellent tool and we need to make sure that kids are aware of it. And 807 seems to be redundant on the September 11th anniversary. It's mentioned a good number of times. I think maybe we could cut one of those out. So, and that's it for tonight. Thank you.
And now ask for approval the May 19th, 2025 committee meeting minutes. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? No nays, so that will pass. And then that will take us to our actual review. Tonight we will begin our meeting with a review of a few time-sensitive administrative guidelines, and then begin our review of Section 800 operations. So we'll start with Dr. Conlon.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. Thanks. So loud. How's that, better? Okay. Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you. We're going to talk about policy 235.1. It is a policy that was actually brought in front of the board last winter. And we kind of pulled it back because we wanted to talk to really the staff, the teachers that predominantly would be using this policy. And what we decided to do, and Amanda was with us when we spoke to the teachers, How do we split the policy into kind of AP, for AP teachers and for non-AP teachers? We got a lot of great feedback from the staff. There were some questions about research procedures. So you'll notice as you go through the policy, some of the adjustments that we made previously from our first iteration, our first read of the policy. Obviously, we made some general comments about what the assignment is, how to do some research, and ultimately how to protect the students in this process. We also had a lot of detail into the approval process. So the conversation around if I'm doing research, what are the parameters that I need to consider? And you can kind of go through that. Also about informed consent and assent with parents. So if we're talking to students, how do we protect their identities and those types of things as well. So the first, really that first policy, and Amanda, if you want to speak to that as well, about the AP classes, there was a lot of detail that you did as well.
Yes, I think just responding to Ms. DeFonzo's comment in regard to the non-dissemination that you'll see that was an add-on since last time this visited you. That is in response to, at least for the AP policy, in response to the AP requirements. Any of the research that's done for that can't be shared publicly unless the district has an IRB board, which you do not at this time. You could decide to have one of those at some point in the future and create it, but so that was why that piece was added. We, as Dr. Conley indicated, we talked a lot about how do you code a pre and post surveys in here to protect student identity. The teachers let us know that sometimes they do focus groups, and so there's notes of the focus group, or they sometimes will record the focus group to make notes, and so there's added information about creating identifiers for the focus group participant and the destruction of that document. And then generally they need to be upfront about the purposes of their research. And then it distinguishes also between the processes for soliciting surveys that might contain protected information as opposed to those that are seeking more general information that don't ask those more personal questions, because the teachers discuss they have a variety, they have some work that doesn't involve any of that, and some students may develop something that does. So that's kind of what's in there. I'm happy to answer any questions about that. Since we're kind of talking about them a little bit together, I would say 235 AG2 is focused on surveys in the non-AP class. This is going to drive everybody crazy, isn't it, the static? But it's a more simplified version of the other policy, but one thing it does make clear in there, they cannot do protected information surveys outside of those AP capstone classes. So.
And this was when we first met, we had one policy that we discussed, and this really, through the conversations, we were really trying to be thoughtful when we met with the staff at each of the high schools and the teachers predominantly doing research, and that's where you see the second AG that came out of that discussion that was for the non-AP classes as well. So I think this is a great process that we went through, but I'm glad that we have these two AGs. It will really be helpful to teachers, especially as we start this new school year.
Thank you. Did anyone on the committee or otherwise have any question about these two AGs? I think these are really important. I think it's good that we're clarifying because we want our students to do this kind of work. We want them to have these skills to refine a project, to collect data, to sort through that data and find the meaning in it. We also want to protect our students from, protect their privacy and protect them from releasing information they didn't intend to release. So I'm glad we're doing this. If there aren't any questions, I'm going to move to a vote on 235.1 AG1. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? So that's 4 ayes. And then I'll move to a vote on 235.1 AG2. All in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Any nays? Also 4 votes for. So at that point, we'll now begin our review of section 800 with Mr. Scott.
Thank you, Dr. Dietrich. Good evening. I have in front of you revisions to board policy 801. I do want to point out that this policy was enacted in 2015, and we have not had any revisions or review of this policy since 2015. So I think it's time that we look at the policy. Not very big, not a lot of changes in the policy. There's some changes in wording, changes in some regulations, the guidelines. We did add, and it is in accordance with right to know law, that anonymous requests do not need to be honored by the district. Part of the right to know law is you have to identify yourself as a resident or as a resident of someplace. And we do get some anonymous just requests with an email address. We now have it in our policy that we can deny them, and they do need to provide adequate information to identify themselves as a requester. And we also put in language that protects, I guess, companies that we do business with that have information that's they think could be a trade secret or confidential in nature. So we have language in there on how we will deal with that if that should arise. So the policy was absent to that language prior to this provision.
Thank you. Are there any questions about policy 801?
So on the anonymous thing, you know, it says according to like the, as defined by the right to know law, do we have a reference in here that explains where people can find out what that is?
It's actually on the form. So the form itself, there is required fields, and it's a name and address and phone number is the reality of what it is. But people will just fill out a form and just put an email address. So we know where it comes from, and that's where they want us to respond to what we are responding to.
The other thing is, on the front of the policy, the definition for requester is the definition from the right to know law. The district's using the same definition.
It might. Yeah, I'm just thinking about like specifically what are the elements. So if like it's defined by the form, maybe we can refer to the form. Because what I don't see here is like, is it my name, is it my address, is it like what, if email's not sufficient, what are the things that I have to provide that are, I'm just trying to make it more, close the loopholes, if you will.
No, I understand what you're saying. On the, I guess there's two forms that if someone is applying to the district to use, they can use the right to know office's form, which all local agencies have to accept. And on there, they also have the name and address in there. They also have a box where someone certifies they're a requester on there within the meaning of the right to know law. The district's form does not have that box. I mean, we have the address and contact information on there. We could add that box to the district's form. You know, that would be something we could consider doing. That might be. Most requesters, I'll be honest, probably don't read your policy. They look at the form. And to be clear, I think there's two things we're talking about here in this paragraph. There's the anonymous requester, that's somebody who doesn't put their name or someone who uses a pseudonym. The other piece of this is we sometimes do get requests that are not anonymous, but they're not from people who are requesters within the meaning of the right to know law. Typically, you do occasionally get one from somebody who will put down a UK address. They're not a requester within the meaning of the right to know law because they're not in the United States. Or sometimes we get someone who doesn't provide any information to allow us to, they don't provide a physical address, so we don't know whether or not they're a requester in the United States. So it's really, we need someone to include a name that's not a pseudonym, and to have an address that allows us to verify that they're in the United States.
Right. So basically that number 3 bullet that says name and address of the individual to receive the district's response is the,
Yes.
And I assume address here is physical address, not digital.
Yes.
And not a post office box.
Correct.
Yeah, well, the post office box, we have gone some rounds with right to know over. The right to know office generally, unless you have other information, will accept a post office box. Unless you have information that indicates that it's not really a legitimate post office box.
Any other questions about this policy? If not, we can move to a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? All right. In that case, case, we can move on to policy 801 AG3.
Thank you. And this is just a revision to our administrative guidelines. Again, this has not been updated since 2015. When it was implemented, you'll see that we did make some changes to, previously we used to just say copies were charged at 25 cents, so now we are changing that. We are black and white copies at one rate and color copies at a different rate, and that just is in accordance with what we are charged per copies by our copier company. So black and white copies are obviously cheaper than color. There are some other new things that have come up since 2015 where people are asking for things for flash drives or asking for things on CDs as opposed to coming in and having to review them. So we've included the cost in there that we will charge you for the actual cost of a CD or a DVD or the cost of a flash drive that you ask for the equipment you put, or ask for the information you put on a flash drive. Postage, we just specified USPS cost. That's what we utilize. That's basically the changes that we have made to the fee structure.
And the fee structure is in accordance with the Office of Open Records recommended fee schedule. In regard to Mr. Gonzo's question regarding email, the district can't charge for electronic delivery unless someone asks for it, specifically asks for it on a flash drive or a CD, which sometimes they do. But we can't, if you're just emailing the electronic documents, there is no charge for that.
Thank you. Are there any questions about policy, about 801 AG3? If not, we can move to a vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any nays? All right, then we can move on to Dr. Nissen.
Good evening, Dr. Petrie and the school board members. I have 802 in front of you for a really quick adaptation to it. We just are going to allow an AG to exist for this policy. This policy, like Mr. Scully said, hasn't been touched since 2015. And an AG just allows us more flexibility when talking about the school organization.
Thank you. And we don't have that AG yet, we're just making the change to allow one, correct?
Correct. The possibility.
Thank you. Are there any questions about policy 802? If not, I'll move to a vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any nays? All right, now take policy 803.
The school calendar. 803 governs the school calendar, and what the reflections, the changes are reflected, they are updated to reflect the PSBA suggested changes. There's a couple, however, changes or additions that I want to point out. One is the flexible instruction day, which is on page 2 of 3. Adding this into the school calendar allows the superintendent or his designee to use a flex day, a flexible instruction day, and we have done that in the past. We have a plan for our FID days, we have a plan that's been approved, we will continue with that plan. The other addition is the Act 80 exceptions. Now, this will allow the superintendent or his designee to add Act 80 days into the calendar. An Act 80 day is a professional development day that's not already on the calendar if we ever need it to be used. Those are the two additions to the 803.
Thank you. And like you mentioned, the flexible instruction days, that's already our practice. We're just updating our policy to reflect.
And what we will continue, usually a FID day is used for inclement weather. And what we will do for the 26th, 27th is continue to use one snow day on that calendar. And that calendar is coming to you very soon.
Thank you.
As soon as we change that, I can bring it to the board.
Great. Any questions about policy 803?
Just, I wanted to point out where that is. Under delegation of responsibility, it says the superintendent will annually prepare. So I don't see anything that would preclude Dr. Missett from presenting in here because it doesn't say that the superintendent has to present, but we certainly could add or designate there if you prefer.
All right, any questions about policy 803? Not, we can move to a vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any nays? That takes us to policy 804.
And again, Again, this policy hasn't been revised or edited since 2015. It's simply adding, once again, that the superintendent may add an administrative guideline to the school day.
Thank you. Any questions about those changes? If not, we can move to a vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any nays? All right, then that takes us to Mr. Burst.
Good evening.
You found it.
We think John is going to hold that there so we can get rid of the ground while we're going through the rest of the meeting. Okay, so policy 805 has some small changes that comply with changes in the law. Some specific areas to point out would be in the guidelines area of emergency preparedness. We actually made some changes in that language to basically capture that it's going to be created but kept confident, not shared out with the public. That is the biggest change as far as that portion of it. We do outline the inclusion of required trainings that are being offered to all staff, the inclusion of trauma-informed approaches, and the additional hour of, sorry, I'm trying to be here, but that's again. The additional hour of in-person training is also required. That's really the changes for this policy.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions about policy 805? If not, we can.
I would just, there's a the that's missing the under guidelines, just but
Where is that?
emergency planning in the green.
Oh, yes.
It's in materials.
Oh, let's see, there's a, yes, it's the like fourth line down at the beginning of the sentence, it says, look, which no E,
It
yeah.
should be the, we can fix that, that's not
That was my
substantive.
assumption,
Yeah.
Any other questions? All right, if not, we can move to a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? That takes us to policy 805.1.
Okay, policy 805.1 also has just a few small revisions in it, specifically to remove the language referring to the Safe School Act and refer back to the school code specifically. Another point of note is under the memorandum of understanding portion of it on the second page is the inclusion of an advisory council made up of school staff. And on the third page, if you were to go down to the bottom, in 3, the reporting piece of it, that the superintendent and any law enforcement agency having a discrepancy will in essence try to work it out. This is in accordance to the laws and language. And that's it for major changes.
Thank you. Are there any questions about policy 805.1? Not, we can move to a vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any nays? All right, that takes us to 805.2.
Okay, 805.2, the first change on that is actually the title of the policy itself. It used to be school security personnel, it's been changed to school safety personnel. There's also an update to reflect our current practices as to how we operate, the responsibility of the school safety and security coordinator, and references to the safe school portion of it removed as with 85.1, and the ability to add administrative guidelines in the future if necessary. If you were to go to the second page, you'll see that school days is included in the top of the area associated with school guards, school safety or security guards. We'll also have a portion of it to remove the types of drills a little further down the page, and then including student behavior. On the following page, we're including language that also refers to what the responsibilities of the school security guard would be. Language a little bit further down the page, just above the guidelines portion, That guidelines will be permitted, or excuse me, that administrative guidelines will be permitted by the superintendent or designee. And then the training, sorry?
Can you go back to delegation of responsibility real quick? There's a typo. Bullet 5, school safety incident.
I got it.
Good. Thank you.
I do have a question about the beginning, but I'll wait till you finish. Sorry.
Okay. Under the guidelines is in essence the training requirements for the school safety and security coordinator. The annual report, starting this next page, that is done in executive session. And then on the last page is the required background checks and certifications as is required for both district employees and contracted employees as school security guards.
Thank you. Wamsley, you had a question about policy.
Yeah, I just want to make sure I've got the definitions correct here. So, under definitions, we specifically changed school security personnel to school safety personnel. So the very first sentence in green says employer contract at least one full-time school security personnel.
Yes. So the school security guard or school security personnel is within the language of school code. And certainly, Amanda can talk to that a little bit more, but that is actually the language in Act 55, and it's associated with, I think it's 1309B of the school code.
So it does, you're correct, it does say school security personnel in the first two greens underneath that authority, but the district's preferred terminology is school safety personnel instead of school security personnel, even though they're defined to mean the same thing in the policy. So my recommendation would be for those two green areas that we change school security personnel to school safety personnel, just so the terminology is consistent through the document.
And then how does that relate to, at the end, we mentioned school safety and security coordinator? Does that
I
fall?
believe the school safety and security, I believe the statutory language is security coordinator, and I believe but the district's title is school safety and security coordinator.
Okay, so how does that tie back to the definitions of the roles then? I'm just trying to make sure they all kind of.
Well, we don't define, there isn't a definition for the school safety and security coordinator. That's a position that the statute requires you to have. And so that's just the title of what the district calls that required position.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions about this policy?
So who fulfills this role, right? Because under delegation of responsibility, it says school safety and security coordinator shall report directly to the superintendent. Wait, is that you?
Yeah, so in the past, I have held that position. As it stands currently, Rick Gordon holds that position, and there's a dotted line report to the superintendent for that purpose.
Any other questions? If not, I'll move that we vote with the suggested revisions. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? Okay, and that takes us to policy 807.
Thank you. So this is just a brief update. Once again, tied to school code. We have not reviewed this since 2015. The big change, obviously, is that there's a moment of silence on the anniversary of September 11, 2001, which is statutory in nature in Pennsylvania. Any other questions about that?
If there are no other questions, we can move to a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? Okay, and that moves to policy 810.4.
Thank you. 810.4 has one minor revision into the definition where we changed the consistent with our other policies and removed the word school as it used to reference school district and it's now just district. That is the only revision to that policy.
Thank you. Any questions about that policy? If not, we can move to a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? That means we have policy 811. Any questions about policy 811? If not, we can move to a vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any nays? And then we have 812.
812 has minor language changes. We did put under delegation responsibility, we did identify the responsible parties who things should be reported to, and that would be me for most situations, and Mr. Burster for other situations, or a combination of both of us, and the option to develop initiative guidelines as needed.
Thank you. Any questions about policy 812? Move to a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? And policy 813.
Perfect, thank you. 813 is the same changes as 812, so it's exactly the same.
Makes things simple.
Thank you.
Any questions about policy 813? If not, we can move to a vote. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Then we have policy 814.
814's got some semantic changes and the addition of the superintendent or designee language at the end.
Thank you. Any questions about policy 814? If not, we can move to a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? That
Just
takes
one
care of-
note about 813, it's not attached, so.
Yeah, I've seen it, but it is not attached right now to this. I think I saw
Yes,
it.
I think just for the
I
public,
think
we
it's
want to
the
make sure it is
same, because it's the
connected.
same, it may not have, but
My understanding is it is part of the board packet. It wasn't, my understanding is it didn't get
yeah, I
attached
think
to
it's
the
because
policy
I'm not
committee
logged in right
packet,
now.
but it did show up as an attachment to your board
Right,
packet.
that's
I
why I
apologize
asked.
for the hard copy of it printed
And
out.
and all of these will need to be approved this evening. Since we will not be able to take them through consent agenda since we have a meeting directly following them. So these will be approved again at the next meeting, so, and it is attached to the actual board.
Perfect, thank you.
We saw it, it just wasn't.
Yeah, and I think if we were to log in on the iPad, we'd probably see it there, because I'm not logged in.
Well, no, we're looking at.
Oh, you're logged
We're
in?
On the
meeting
public
agenda.
facing.
Yes, it's not on me. That's why I asked.
All right, are we okay with moving on to informational items then? Yep. All right, Dr. Christopher will now update the committee on the first of 10 revised administrative guidelines.
Sorry, I was pulling around a little bit. I got off the meeting I was on to go look to make sure it was on the action. Sorry, no, it's okay, no, it's all right. Why is it here? Oh my God, I don't know. So we have, as you see, we have the admin guidelines in front of you there. Application affidavit for non-resident student living with the resident or resident students, 200 AG1. Is there any questions about that? No, but it's just an updated list. And then Mr. Scully, are you going to do the inspection of copies of public records?
I can, thank you.
Sure.
So policy 801 AG1, just updated with minor language changes, and we've updated to reflect what our current practices are as far as the collection of fees and as well as the inspection records. AG2, minor revisions in language. We did actually cross out by facsimile. We do not fax request anymore, nor do we accept them by fax. 810 AG1 is transportation emergency safety procedures, minor revisions to language. We had principles capitalized, it's various changes to language, no content changes. 810 AG2, and I'm sorry if I'm going too fast, I should be asking, are there any questions as I'm going through them? I apologize.
They're really minor.
Okay. 810 AG2, which is bus driver's responsibility, again, minor changes to language. 810 AG3, child care transportation, we've added in some language, we used to use the word just year, and we meant school year, so we actually did put the word school year in, so it's not fiscal year, it is school year and not calendar year. 810.3 minor revisions again. We took out he, she, and put they, written authorizations. We did not have written prior to that, and we do want any changes or any requests to be in writing so that we have supporting documentation for anything to be changed with vehicles and people's requests for transportation.
Thanks.
I think that is it.
Mr. Brown, one.
A lot more changes to the AG than the actual policy. The changes are mostly making things a little clearer, clarifying what the copyright law allows educators to lean into versus what it does not allow for.
Thank you. Any questions?
And then the last one tonight, Dr. Newsom.
Thank you. 913 AG1 we brought this to the Teaching and Learning Equity Committee meeting back in June, and we are going to bring it back for you tonight to add an organization that is governed under Title 36 of U.S. Code. This will allow those groups that fall under Title 36 of the U.S. Code to submit a flyer to a building, and we will publish it electronically for the time period that we typically do for our other organizations inside our school district. This is one of an example of a group that falls under Title 36 of the U.S. Code is the Boy Scouts of America, the Air Patrol, anything federally chartered patriotic societies falls under these groups.
Thank you for that clarification, because I've had some community members reach out to me because we had changed our policy, and then there was just, we needed to be a little more clear about what the new policy actually means, and this AG helps a lot.
It makes it very clear what we can do and what we can't do. And as you can imagine, schools get flooded with asking to share a flyer for an organization or a corporation.
Exactly, and so now we have not just the policy, but what our practice will be, and it should be easy to point an organization to that.
Correct, but they do have 3 caveats that they have to have. One is that disclaimer, there's a time period, and to the building principal.
Yes, thank you. Are there any questions about these AGs? All right, just a note, this is a list of policies and guidelines that were reviewed with no changes. Policy 806, 808, 808 AG1, 810, 810.2, 810.3, 810.3 AG1, and 813 AG2. And the following policies and AGs are under further review. Policy 800 records management, policy 800 AG1, policy 800 AG2. Last thing is our next committee meeting will be held on Monday, September 15th, 25, and that concludes our meeting for tonight. Thanks.
Yeah, we're good.
All right, look at that, nice quiet. Really settled down. It was. All right, good evening. We'll get started with tonight's Property and Finance Committee meeting. First thing, we'll take roll. Director Parkinson? Here. Director Christie?
Here.
Director Wamsley?
Here.
I'm here, we're all here tonight. Any public comment tonight? No public. Okay, good. All right, moving on. The first item is the approval of the last Property and Finance Committee meeting, which was back on June 16th. And nobody approached me with any comments, so we'll vote for the June 16th Property and Finance meeting minutes as written. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. All right, the next item, as we do it on a monthly basis, Mr. Scully will review the latest August budget forecast model.
Thank you, Mr. McLaughlin. Included in your packet was the forecast model. This is the August forecast model, which has the results of financial operations for the 25-26 year through July 31st. And it also, most of our changes that you will see in the forecast model are in reference to our year-end results for June 30th of 2025. So looking at the changes that we made, so it's page 5 of the forecast model, changes that we made for the 24-25 projection changes. Again, any changes that we make here in accordance with school board policy rolls into our designated fund balance to help offset any millage increase that might be needed to balance the 26-27 budget year. So our salaries came in at $1.7 million below where we had projected. Our benefits came in about $2.4 million below where we had projected. Professional and technical services are up about $1 million, $924,000. Property services are down about $526,000. Other services are down by about $2 million. Supplies are down $1.1 million, and I would say the rest are somewhat nominal. So our expenses came in better than we had projected, meaning we spent less by about $7 million for the year end. I don't know if there's any questions or if we need any specifics on any line items within there. I had actually thought that our benefits might have come in a little bit better, meaning not as expensive as they were. I will tell you that we are seeing a very large increase in our prescription drug plans. So I do have some concerns with where my projections are for the 25-26 year for projections. So normally I come back to the board sometime in the December timeframe. I am meeting with Gallagher Benefits in September, as well as CVS, to look at what we can do to try to contain some of our costs on prescription. A lot of being, I believe it's GLP-1, which I believe is, I thought it was diabetic, but I believe it's weight loss, not necessarily with the diabetic diagnosis. So we are looking into that specifically. That's where we saw a very large increase, and that large increase was in our fourth quarter of last year. So as of February, when we did our last projection on benefits, I did not see that, and our costs skyrocketed in March, April, May, and June. Actually, the end of March, April, May, and June. So I don't really have anything further other than I did call and request for a meeting immediately with CVS as well as Gallagher. Looking at local revenues for last year, our current and our interim, and actually was interim taxes came in about $1.2 million higher than I had projected in May when we last did these. Everything else is somewhat nominal. Transfer taxes of $860,000, I will tell you that was the Exton Mall. So that property did transfer, I believe it was for $27 million, so we did see a substantial amount of transfer tax on that property. I did not account for that when I did my projections at budget time because I was not sure when the settlement was actually going to occur. That mall had supposedly been sold a few times before it actually transferred ownership, so I was a little hesitant to actually record or accrue any transfer taxes on that property. And our investment earnings, as we had seen throughout the year, our investment earnings came in about $1.1 million ahead of where we had projected it to be. So all in all, we did about $10.6 million better than we had projected. All of that is being used to offset our increase for the 26-27 school year, which I will get to when we look at, after we look at changes that we're making for the current year that we're in, which is 25-26. Does anyone have any questions on 24-25? So I'm going to say this is officially our unaudited end of the year results. We may have some minor tweaks when the auditors come in. The auditors were in last week for 3 days, did some other testing, but I think we are pretty well done with our expenditures being booked. We may see some minor tweaks, nothing that is going to be of major. I don't anticipate any major changes for this one.
I think it's good news overall when we're looking at it, and some of the numbers are better than what we had forecasted. I've been keeping an eye on the prescription drugs, but I think that's something, the trend we're seeing in the industry now anyway, increasing, but it'd be good to keep a handle on that with Gallagher.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
And we've been pretty steady on our healthcare. I mean, we have not seen substantial increases probably in the last 4 or 5 years. We've kind of been somewhat flat. Although I kept our budget where we had always budgeted rather than taking the reduction, I had left it flat and just continued to carry that forward. I think our carry forward days are coming to an end. I think we've caught up to where we had been budgeting.
On the note. So, you know, on average, every year we kind of increase our budget forecast right about 10 million, right? So this means we kind of came in under 10 million of that, right? So we're almost flat, right? But I just want to like help the public understand, right? Like when we say we're going to carry it forward, I mean, we're going to sort of pay it forward to ourselves to help avoid future tax increases, right?
Correct.
So any variables we see in the next budget year, we're using this surplus, because that's what it is, right? To offset that so that we can minimize the tax impact that ultimately happens.
Correct.
So even though we may have raised taxes in 1 year and it ended up favorable, we're still carrying that forward so that they still get that benefit, if you will.
Correct. Thank you. Okay. So for 25-26, obviously I did not do a lot of analysis on 25-26. We only had July's revenue and income. But based on last year's earnings, you can see a substantial increase in investment earnings. We did receive a lot of money in July. Obviously, taxes are due August 30th. A lot of people did pay in July. We did get a lump sum in July, and we have invested that at right now favorable rates, and that is invested for a long period. It's no longer than obviously the year, but they are not in 30-day investments. They are longer-term investments, so we can do a decent calculation on where we expect that to be. So I am increasing investment earnings by $4.5 million. I'm increasing earned income by $300,000, and federal revenue, which is medical access drawdown, that is based on actual billings from the previous year. So I worked with Melissa Kleiman, and we are comfortable bringing in revenue of $300,000. And everyone is aware how medical access works. We do our billings in the 1 year based upon expenditures for the year, then we submit them. Once they're approved, our revenue then sits in a fund balance with the state. So when I say we're increasing our revenue, we're actually drawing more money down from our fund balance with the state. So at this point, we increased this $300,000, would be $1 million drawdown for this year, and then we have next year's money still sitting there. So we are good with medical access for at least another year. I don't know what is happening on the federal level with medical access. If we don't know anything by the time we get the budget, I unfortunately am going to advise the board that I'm going to budget conservatively. Hopefully we have better knowledge of where we are with the federal government and where any type of cuts are being made. I don't even know if medical access is one of the areas that they're actually looking at, but for right now, we are good for our 25-26 year and 26-27 year. Then we may need to be conservative on what our out-year projections are.
Yeah, I mean, there are general cuts to medical access of about 30%, 30 to 40%. But those are global. It really is unclear exactly how that's going to affect billables for school districts, but the overall, so I mean, I think a lot of districts are looking at those numbers at 60, 70% of what they normally have done. But you're normally not even begin what we would be able to fully draw down anyway.
Correct. So for this year, I have $1 million in. For next year, I have $1 million in. And the year after that, I automatically have this forecast model dropping to half. I have it down to $500,000. So I'm already conservative in the forecast model.
Right.
Is there any, with this year's budget, with no state budget being passed, has that impacted us in what ways?
Thank you. That was my next line. I forgot.
I got your text, so I was just reading it out.
So there is no state budget approved as it states right now. We are one of the districts that we do not receive a whole lot of money from the state, but every penny that we get from the state, we do utilize and we do need. As it stands right now, we are short a quarter of our basic ed funding and short a quarter of our special ed funding, I believe. We did get our property tax rebate funding. So that is outside, that funding is guaranteed to us outside of the governor's approved budget. So our revenues for, that's the gaming revenue, so the property tax rebate. Justin, do we have that broken out on the model? think that's about $4.4 million. I'm gonna say ballpark, we got $2.5 million. That already did come in. So on that front, we did get that revenue. We have booked that revenue already. But we are short with our basic ed and our special ed funding. Right now, from a cash flow purpose, obviously, it's not gonna have a huge impact on the district. I believe the impact that we're gonna have is that we are gonna have to be cautious with the amount of tax revenues that we actually put in long-term investments. So where we will see our issue is that our investment earnings may not be as high, depending upon how long this takes for the governor to approve the budget. I mean, if this goes 6 months, we're gonna have a problem. If this goes 3 months, I've got money that I'm gonna be putting into short-term investments rather than longer-term investments, which will reduce the amount of investment earnings. But from a cash flow purpose, we can make it through the year.
What's the latest state budget has ever come out?
December?
I was
Yeah.
gonna say, I was
thinking
gonna say,
it
I
was through
believe I
winter.
remember a year that it was December.
Yeah.
I'd like not to be quoted on that, and I could give you an exact, but
Yeah.
I believe that it was as late as December.
I thought there was one that was early winter. Yeah.
So if there are no other questions, I would like to jump to the summary of all funds page, which is the very last page of the model. So obviously, we're done with 25-26, and we've levied our taxes. One thing I do want to talk about is the STEP value and the distribution between the market value and assessed values between Delaware County and Chester County. Once again, the market values in Delaware County grew faster than the market values in Chester County. So regardless of what we do with our tax increase for Chester County, Delaware County is going to see a larger increase. You'll remember 2 years ago, we had a substantial difference between our Chester County and Delaware County millages. Last year, it leveled itself out again. We are back to a difference nowhere near as substantial as it was 2 years ago, but Delaware County's tax burden will be higher than the tax burden on Chester County residents based on the approved STEB value that was already provided to us. So early warning on that for our Chester County constituents and our Chester County Delaware County constituents and Delaware County residents. So I guess looking at 26-27 for our budget year, so that will be the budget that will be coming forward to you guys somewhere in the November timeframe. We are sitting right now at about a $15 million deficit with an Act 1 increase. Obviously, these are very early numbers, very premature. None of that is meant to scare the board or anything else. That's where the Excel spreadsheet puts us for right now. Last year at this time, we were about $9.3 billion. So we are about $5 million worse than we were last year at this time. That's really all I have. Again, it's very early in the year. We did not even get our large payments from our mortgage tax service companies. That's just a timing thing. Sometimes they come in July 31st, sometimes they come in August 1st. So we did not see them in July 31st, but they're in as of now, as of August.
Anybody from the committee or board have any questions for John on the budget forecast? Everybody good? All right. All right, moving forward, the next thing we have is an update on initiated appeals.
So I did include a memo in the, sorry, I'm out of order, my apologies. I included a memo dated August 25th to the school board. This is the time of the year where the district, normally we look at our sales of properties that occurred within the school district for a difference in assessed values in excess of $1 million between what the sales price would indicate and what the common level ratio indicates and what the actual assessed value on the Chester County rolls are. In previous years, we did have a few properties that we did actually initiate in accordance with school board policy. We did initiate a district initiated appeal, meaning that we challenged the assessment on a property. Last year we had none, and this year again for the transfers in 25-26, we did not have any that met the criteria. There were some that would have met the criteria, but it is vacant land that is being sold and was sold to a developer. We, as a practice, have not gone after developers. We wait until actually the development is done, and then we look at that assessment. We don't want to penalize our developers who actually purchase land with the intent to develop the land, and then we charge them taxes that are higher than really they should be on a vacant piece of land. So this will be the second year, and probably this is the second year in the history of my time being here that we do not have district initiated appeals, and that is just because the common level ratio keeps decreasing. So our sales prices are matching pretty close to what our common level ratio indicator is. And what the common level ratio is it takes the assessed value and multiplies it by a ratio established by the state, not by us, which will then give us a number that says that that property should have sold for around that price. And everything that has sold is selling for around what it should be selling. So no,
All right. Thanks for
no
the
action
update.
on there, it's an information.
Yeah, thanks for the update, no appeals. And then the last item we had for you, John, was the right to know.
The right to know, I just wanted to finalize, I know we did talk about this last year and not bringing this back on a monthly or a quarterly basis. I did want to finalize at least the 24-25 school year. There was minimal activity on the right to know stands for the last quarter. The last time you saw this was March, I believe, so I'm giving you April, May, and June, just so we can finalize this. My intent would be that I would bring it back again after December, so we would do it on a 6-month or a year. I think the direction of the board was I should look at it. Obviously, I look at it every month. If there's something substantial, I will be back in January with a 6-month update. If not, it would be an annual update.
And I think that's fine, I think that's perfect, that's appropriate.
And again, informational item only, nothing for approval.
All right, thank you.
I have a question real quick.
Yes.
When it says on this chart, when it says like high school transcript, not an RTK request, does that mean someone put in a request and it wasn't supposed to go that way?
Correct. So people put in requests for the high school transcripts. That is not a right to know request. That is something, so we just deny that and send them right to the school for them to get. So,
Okay.
but we put it on there because we put everything on there that comes in with the appropriate form. So they filled out the form appropriately. That's just not what this is supposed to be.
Okay. That's what I thought, I just wanted to
Correct.
clarify. So
Yep.
thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Scully. All right, we have 2 items tonight from Mr. Burster. The first is the 25-26 capital reserve project bid awards.
Okay, this first project is project G144, which is the district-wide playground project that we've been carrying from year to year. The original project budget for this project was $100,000, and we're asking to award to George Eli in the amount of $10,670 tonight. When we had awarded this year's projects, we had awarded in the amount previously of $108,254, utilizing savings from the prior year's allocation to offset that difference. We're asking to again move forward that $10,670 of the remaining balance to fund this portion of the project.
Thank you, Mr. Burster. So this is an approval item for tonight, but we'll bring it forward to the board for approval since the property finance meeting preceded the board meeting tonight. So basically, looking for approval of the 25-26 capital reserve project bid awards, which was to George Eli Associates for an award value of $10,670. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Good to move forward on that. And then the last item for tonight's meeting was approval of the capital project bid awards, Mr. Burster.
This project is project CO86, which is the partial refurbishment and roof replacement at East High School. We had already awarded the roof portion of this project to a different contractor, but in the process of doing this work, we have identified the need to replace some roof ladders. So we're seeking to award to Safety Rail Sourcing Corp. LLC, in the amount of $8,175 tonight.
And again, this item is for approval for the property and finance, but we'll carry this forward to the board for formal approval. So basically, looking for the property and finance committee to approve the capital project bid awards for Safety Rail Sources for a total award value of $8,175. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Okay, we're good there. And that is the last item on tonight's property and finance committee. And just an update, as Dr. Christopher informed us, the next property and finance meeting will be prior to the board meeting on September 29th. That is a change. All right, thank you, everybody. Okay, that concludes tonight's meeting.
started. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us for our August 25th Personnel Committee meeting. We'll start by taking roll. Director Grinnell.
Here.
Director Cotton.
Here.
Director Herman. Here, and I'm here. All right. Do we have any public comment? All right, then we'll just move along to our first agenda item, which is to approve the July 28th, 2025 committee meeting minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, item approved. Okay, we'll move to our agenda items. We have two quick agenda items. The first would be a request for approval for a new job description and position for a communication specialist. Ms. Rita, welcome, and will you please share with us on these two?
Sure. The communications specialist role is going to be under the manager of communications. And this role, manager of communications is here to answer questions as well, but this role is really to help continue to improve our website and our school websites as well.
Okay. And would you like to verify or?
Sure, I'm happy to answer any questions. In the fall of last school year, the communications department rebuilt the WCSD website and all the school sites, and at that time, we took on all the work of updating those sites, and while I think we've done a good job with that, I think it can only get better, so this job would be really beneficial in keeping them updated, keeping things ADA compliant, and just being faster with our different things that we need to get up each school year and every day, so looking forward to it.
I would also add that one of the big things that we've not noticed here is that we really don't have an internal website. So, most large organizations have a forward-facing website that is for the public, but then inside is where they keep a lot of documents and procedures and all kinds of things that are available then for people who work in the school district and can get behind it via, a sign-in wall. I really feel a need to do that. We are putting a ton of things on our public-facing website that really have no business really being on the public website. There are internal forums, there are ways to access benefits, there are all kinds of activities that we should be thinking differently about how to do that. Really, because unfortunately then we end up with a lot of questions about things that really are not even, they're not public. I think one of the other things too is that we did initially last year try and work through using communications, outsourcing some communications activity through a partner, a consultant. And at the end of the day, we've decided not to renew that contract, and that contract was ongoing on a monthly basis. So we do have some funding available also for this position. We would not then try and move forward with a consultant. We would move some of that work over to Molly specifically, and some of the things that Molly is doing right now that are not necessarily at the level we would like in terms of the type of work that we expect Molly to be doing. She's doing a lot of clerical things and things that we could absolutely outsource or do internally with a web minister. So we think that would be a much better use of time as well.
Yeah, I would agree just in reviewing the job profile that the work should be consolidated and really be brought in-house. And I think it's a good call, so thank you for that. Any other questions or comments from anybody on the committee? All right, with that, request for approval of a new job description and position of communication specialist. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right.
Thank you.
All right, and our next agenda item similarly is a request for a new job description and position for pupil services technician.
I'll go for it.
Okay.
So as you can imagine, there is a lot of reporting to the state that comes out of the Pupil Services Department. So what we're looking to do here is hire somebody to support us with all of that reporting. Right now it kind of falls under different people, so what ends up happening is that there's just too many cooks in the kitchen, for lack of a better term. And when we go to make our end of the year state reports, we end up having to clean a lot up. So this person would be responsible for filing all of our child count submission, all of our child data, maintaining all of our invoices and costs related to special education in our system, reporting on our applications for funding to the Pennsylvania Department of Education, and to assist with all our federal, state, and local requirements for reporting with charter schools, contingency funding, wards of state, non-resident students, everything that we have to report to the state. This person would be responsible for assisting and completing.
So are we in essence centralizing all of the data entry for this?
That's what
For
we're looking
people
to do,
services,
yes.
And the work currently today is being distributed amongst a number of different folks?
Among a number of different people, so this would assist in getting it centralized, getting someone trained in all the systems, and then just having everything in one central location, so we know who's sending it, where to go, we know when all of our reports are due, they're getting done in a timely manner, it just helps with everything.
And is there any alignment to Mr. McGowan's organization from a tech perspective, given this is a technician?
Yeah, I mean, they do help, it's very efficient for the data process. So Mary Prince is our data processor, so she does assist with the regular education side of it, and when we have to make reports to states, we're working closely with them to be able to do that.
Any questions from anyone on the committee? With that, approval for new job description and position of people services technician, all in favor?
Aye.
And with that, our next committee meeting will be Monday, October 27th, 2025. Meeting adjourned.
like to call to order the August 25th, 2025 meeting of the Westchester Area School Board. Let us begin the meeting with the salute to our flag. Please stand. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have no special announcements this evening. Next on the agenda is roll call. Ms. Cherisher.
Vice President Bevilacqua.
Here.
Director Christie.
Here.
Director Dietrich.
Here.
Director Durnell.
Here.
President Fleming.
Here.
Director Fry.
Here.
Director Herman. Director Herman. Director Herman. Director Herman.
You can hear Linda?
All right, Director Herman.
She's trying to talk. Yeah, she's trying to talk. She's on speaker, right?
We can't hear you. Did you try calling her back?
Call her back. Yeah, I'll call her back and see if she comes in that way.
Karen. We can't hear you. Did you hear me? Did you hear me?
Now I can hear her.
Yeah, you're gonna have it.
Okay, so I might just not put you on speaker. But no, she won't be able to hear me.
Yeah, just.
She has to be able to hear how it is.
Just
We
try
have
to
to be able to hear her.
All right, hold on. Director Herman?
Yeah.
Here. Thank you. Director Parkinson?
Here.
Director Wamsley?
Here.
Mayor Narayan?
Here.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Cherisher. That leads us to public comment. Do we have any public comment?
There are no public comments on agenda items.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Sundquist. We'll approve the minutes now from the July 28th, 2025 board meeting. May I have a motion to approve the minutes of the July 28th, 2025 board meeting? I have a first from Vice President Bevilacqua. May I have a second? Director Fry. Any questions or comment? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We'll now approve the agenda for tonight's meeting. Are there any changes that anyone would like to make to tonight's agenda? Okay, seeing none, may I have a motion to approve the August 25th, 2025 agenda as presented? May I have a motion? Director Dietrich, may I have a second? Director Durnell? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We will now have Dr. Christopher, Superintendent, report on the first day of school. Because he did not have a long enough day, we decided to schedule 3 committee meetings before the board meeting.
We have not been bored. It's been good, yeah. But yeah, good evening, everyone. It's great to see you here for our first meeting of the new school year. We have some things we'd like to share about the way the year started and then give an update on the high school schedule. So before we gather as an entire staff for convocation, we kick off the year with our annual induction program where we bring in all of our new staff members. It's a really fun day. Director Durnell, almost got you there, Daryl. Did a great job actually presenting to our staff, was able to come as well as some of our administrators. And then it's like drinking out of the fire hose for new folks. I think honestly the whole week is just really busy, but we really try and give them all the information they need so that they can be successful when they get started. So those folks actually started 2 weeks ago with us, and we're here for a whole week. And then last week, we actually officially kicked the school year off with convocation at East High School. We had a completely filled gym, I'm told. Unfortunately, I was not there. I did not feel well last week. It's the first time I've missed convocation in 30 years. My wife disputed that it had been 30 years, and so we had to get the calendar out. I said, no, it's been 30. This is my 30th school year. It's the first time I ever missed one. So, but the energy and the school spirit are unmistakable. I can see lots of videos and pictures, and our team did an amazing job kicking the year off. The highlight was definitely having Dr. Reynolds introduce our Portrait of a Graduate to all staff. This framework is going to be really impactful for us, and I'm going to talk about it a little bit as part of our high school schedule update. We also had a bunch of students, a student actually speak about each one of our durable skills, so 5 student speakers, and they did an awesome job. It really is the highlight. Anytime you have kids actually participate in something like that, it's the highlight of the day for everyone. Because not only did they talk about the skills and how they learn them here in Westchester and how they're important, they also talked about a staff member who's played a key role in their growth. Which is a really awesome way to really talk about your staff in front of other staff members. We also have a spirit competition, which got a little crazy this year. I'm told Henderson won. Henderson High School showed up. They decided they're going to show up, and they won. Our principal, Jason Sherlock, was in a full baseball uniform, throwing pitches to one of our assistant principals who was in a catcher's uniform. It's pretty entertaining, I'm told. And then Exton Elementary School won a tightly contested race. I was sitting at home sick, and I got about 30 texts about who should win the elementary. There was there were people in lots of courts. If I'd been there, East Goshen probably would have won because they had a giant blow up with me, but I was not there. So, I also want to just take a moment and recognize our staff who worked so hard this summer to make sure we're ready for school. I was in every building today, so all 17 schools today. And our buildings are clean. I mean, even the ones that were fully renovated, we had renovation up until the last second at Hillsdale. We actually got full occupancy on Friday of the building. So that means that we passed the fire inspection, which is something you have classes there. And then the custodial team came in over the weekend, cleaned everything up. Our teachers came in and worked and got the rooms ready. But our buildings look great. It was a really nice day going around the schools and getting a chance to see so many happy families and faces and everything else. It's always really exciting. And I really want to thank especially our facilities department for all the work they did this summer here at the end. No matter what we do with construction, no matter how we think it's going to go, it always comes down to the last 48 hours before kids walk in the door. Is that true? It doesn't really, well, it really doesn't matter. By the time the contractors get everything done, they got done, and we have, I'd say probably 2/3 of Mary C. House is now fully renovated, and about half of Hillsdale. And it's really wild. When you go into Hillsdale, if you go down the ramp, it looks like a brand new school. If you go up the ramp, it looks like that 70s shift still. So, it's going to take us a little while to get there. And we'll have 2 more summers of construction there, 1 more at Mary C. We start construction at Starkweather next year, which will be a full renovation. And we're going to be at Exton next summer as well. We're moving portables. So we'll have 4 buildings under construction next summer. Something that we'll be talking about as we bring the calendar to you here in the future. The first day of school is got to be everyone's favorite day if you work in education. I mean, it is such an exciting day. When you look at the kindergartners coming in with their parents, their tears, they're almost always the parents, they're rarely the kindergartners, But there's just so much excitement in the car line, and, kids getting off the bus, and kids seeing each other for the first time, and they haven't seen each other all summer, and, I heard middle school students say, Mary, you got so tall. I mean, I don't know, did she? She looks tall. But just some interesting things like that today. So we had a great first day. So it was really a gift, obviously, to be able to do that. And since I missed last week, it's always great to get out and get around and see our wonderful staff and our families who are just, giving us their best, which is their kids every day. And, that transaction on the first day of school is really the one, I think where you see it the most, It's where the parents are all there, and, even the dogs, they're trying to get pictures with the dog, it's always interesting in the front of the car. But it was a great day, and we were very happy to be there. Finally, I do want to provide you with an update on the high school schedule. So after lots of conversations, we really have tried to think about this timeline and how we can move forward in a way that really does a couple things. I'm going to talk about that. First of all, we had a lot of summer progress. We did move 100 to 150 lockers. We removed them. I didn't remove them. Wayne Purser's team removed them in the middle of also doing all the construction work that they did, and created some new spaces in these buildings. One thing we found yet last year in the spring was really this idea of like, people have a hard time envisioning what they can't see. And so can we actually take portions of the building and can we get them converted over the summer so people can see what it will look like when we make some of these bigger transitions? And they have a better understanding for how we're gonna make these spaces work. And so, you know, at East High School, like, you know, when you pull a locker bay out, like, and you put in a butcher block, and we'll be putting stools that will sit underneath there so they're not a fire issue. So during the day, they sit in there, but when kids need them, they can pull them out. The other thing we did is we ran power to all of these locations, which is something we saw at other school districts. The kids do not sit at places that do not have places to plug things in. They just do not, you know, and so that was one of the things that we did. So East, we did this, this is really in the art wing. That's where we already had a lot of kids that were congregating. We said, how do we utilize this space and make it a little bit different for them? We did something similar in Henderson. We actually moved quite a few lockers before the year was out, and this is where they got the summer. We have some finishing work to still do in a couple of these areas, which is to be expected. Like I said, we had a very busy summer. But this will be a whole hallway that is down, heading towards the cafeteria. We'll have seating space for, you know, about 100, 150 kids in Henderson when we actually get this fully completed. And there'll be some places there for them to also sit and then somewhere to actually plug things in and do what they need to do during their lunch and learn block. And then same thing at Ruston. When you take some of the lockers out, you never know what you're going to find. Luckily underneath here we found terrazzo, which was great, finished flooring. I know that Wayne was very excited when he pulled that out. And it wasn't just concrete underneath there because that would have been a lot harder to take care of. But and we already ran the chase for the electrical cord, and those guys will be able to finish that up here fairly quickly, and we will be ordering stools. So I think it's going to be a lot easier for students and staff members to see kind of what some of these spaces could look like in buildings, you know, when we take out a couple hundred lockers in the next summer. And really, what does that look like when we're ready to actually have more spaces available for kids? Because one of the concerns is the kids, what are they going to do if they have an hour-long lunch line? Where are they going to eat? All these types of things people ask. And we will be able to do that. And this is work we did internally. I don't know that we'll do all the work internally moving forward. I can bring that to you in November, I think, with our bid list to have that work done moving forward. But just to kind of give you an idea, those spaces are already, you know, up and running, I'd say, really at East, and then at Henderson and Ruston, we're getting close, where we can actually use the space. We also have updated expectations for lunch and learn. So all of our high schools went to a stoplight system for identifying spaces during lunch and learn, and really what that means, so this is the one that we took the picture at East today, so, you know, blue is physical activity, but no food, so the gym, you know, the weight room. Yellow, turn on here, is quiet study meeting and no food, so the library, so a place where kids can go and can work quietly, can do different things, but we're not gonna let them bring their lunches and things in there. Green is, you can eat, you can socialize, you can do what you need to do. You can see that's the majority of, you know, the space. This is actually at East. And then red are areas that are just off limits. Like, we don't want you anywhere in there during lunch and learn. And if we see in there, it's going to be a consequence. Like, you should not be in those spaces. A lot of spaces at East are locked, but there are spaces kids can get, stairwells, things like that. We're going to say, we really don't want you in those spaces. You don't need to be in there during lunch and learn. And then we can monitor them more easily. We didn't do this before. Like the kids, I think one of the big concerns that came out through this whole process last year was that we really needed to create more guidance for our students and better, not necessarily rules, but better expectations for them. And I know that our principals spent a lot of time today, because I was in those buildings, you know, in class meetings and meetings with students and really making sure that the understanding of expectations this year. We also, I don't have it on here as part of the presentation, but we've been really clear this year with our students that, you know, there are not going to be any cell phones in instructional periods. We told the staff this is not an optional practice anymore. Like, you know, at the high school, like, kids should not have their cell phone out there in instructional time. And if they do that, we have to follow through the consequences because we cannot allow that to continue to happen. So that, I know that I got at least several emails from parents tonight, actually, who were thanking us for doing that. Their kids came home and said, hey, sounds like it's a different kind of landscape for the cell phone. So that's got to be part of this conversation too. I think the other big thing that happened this summer is we did go through the process of creating a portrait of a graduate. So this was presented to our staff at convocation. And really looking at, but really the process was that, you know, we had a design team. Several of you participated in that design team. We also got input from 544 staff members, over 1,100 students, and over 2,600 parents. So we didn't just create this in a back room. I think the joke I was gonna use in convocation was we didn't have ChatGPT to it, or although somebody did ask me, why didn't we do that? We save money and time. And that's maybe true, but buy-in would have probably been a little different. You know, so we had a large group of people who were invested in this. And we had a lot of alignment. Our final 5 skills, which are adaptability, communication, empathy, problem solving, and responsibility. I mean, 100% of the groups, of all of those groups, had 3 of them in there. And then 75% had the other 2 in there. So, you know, we really, and the list we sent out, I think might have had 40 different terms on it. So to come up with a community list that really seems like a strong list and seems like there's a lot of alignment is really important for us. We want to make sure that this is the main thing that we're focused on this next year. Not about trying to identify, you know, how we're going to teach in a different period. Or, I mean, those are things we need to work on over the next couple years, but it's not something we want to make sure that we are focused on this, on ensuring that these skills are embedded, these durable skills in what our expectations are for our students. And then we're using them to drive student engagement. I think those are things that we have to continue to focus on. So there's kind of an advanced look at our portrait, you know, communication and what that looks like. Because we want our kids to be prepared for bold futures and for careers we can't even imagine yet. That's where we need to get. Like, we need to get to this age of empowerment where our kids really do feel like they can be successful in a very challenging and changing landscape because they have the skills to do that. And they know how to reinvent themselves, and they know the types of things they need to do. So to realize that vision, our focus must be on improving the high school experience and outcomes for our students. So to do that, we're going to recommend to elongate the scheduling timeline so that final implementation of the new schedule occurs in the fall of 2027. So our initial target had been the fall of 2026, but we were spending a lot of time and energy just trying to hit benchmarks. And I said at the end of December, I said, we have got to get to a point where we're not worried about those benchmarks, where they're just taking care of themselves through the process, and we are really focused on what matters, which is ensuring that students are engaged in our high school, ensuring that the work that they're doing is meaningful and relevant. So that's really our plan at this point. So some things we're going to do, so greater focus on embedding portrait skills, increased focus on instructional improvement. We spent all of our summer with our admin team talking about instruction. So we had our administrators here for 8 days, and the majority of that time was talking about how do we improve instructional quality, how do we improve student engagement, how do we improve giving teachers feedback, how do we improve leading for instructional purposes. And that's got to be our focus this year. And then we need additional time for increasing student voice and options during lunch and learn. I think one of the big takeaways this summer too is that we really need to get our students engaged more in talking about what their future should look like and getting voice from them. And we have all kinds of mechanisms in place this fall to do that. So we need to let those happen, at our high schools especially. So next steps, one thing you're going to see from me at the end of this week, early next week, is a video that's going to go out to our parents, inviting them to be part of a community book read on the book, The Disengaged Teen, Helping Kids Learn Better, Feel Better, and Live Better, by Jennifer Anderson and Rebecca Winthrop. It's a book that was recommended to me by another superintendent who is in a group that I belong to, really focused on student engagement. And I read it this summer and I was like, this is it. This is the thing that we've been missing, because it really focuses on how we can really, as parents, you know, and I'll be leading that as the superintendent, but also as a dad of a 14-year-old in the school district. How do we help our kids really navigate the world and really support them? And then what can schools do to partner in that with work with parents? I think it's going to be a really positive activity to be part of with the community. We need to continue to work with building level implementation teams and student teams. That will not slow down. In fact, it's going to probably accelerate in some different areas now that we're not as focused on trying to implement the schedule in the fall. We're going to be less concerned about time stamps and some of those kinds of things, and we're concerned about how do we ensure that, like, the lunch and learn block is really beneficial to kids, and what are the types of things we need to do during that block. And then we need to modify the existing timeline to capture the additional time and additional benchmarks we believe we should include. One of the things I've said to our cabinet team is I really would still like to be able to feed kids out of 2 locations next year in the fall. I think that would really help with us. I mean, Henderson right now, I know 50% of the students do not have a lunch period. You know, it's over 800 of the 1,400 kids at Henderson do not currently have lunch scheduled. So we're feeding 800 kids in 30 minutes right now. They're also trying to go to their club activities and everything else that's happening during that block. It would really be beneficial if we had a second place to do that. And up until Ruston High School was was open, we had 2 cafeterias in Henderson. And we discontinued one once we moved the kids out and sent them to Ruston. But the reality is that that building really is not, the cafeteria is really never designed to do what it does. And so we need to think through that differently. So we're gonna continue to work forward this process. We still would like to bring you, some cost estimates and all those kinds of things, hopefully in November, so we can move forward with that. I just want to thank you. I want to thank the board for their support through this process. I think from the very beginning, I told them, hey, if we didn't think we could get this done in the way that we want to get it done, we would push the timeline back, and that's kind of where we are. And so, I want to thank you for your support, and we're going to continue to move forward, and we're going to do what we need to do to really make sure that our kids have a world-class education, which is absolutely the goal of everyone here. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Christopher. And I would like to welcome Mira. I can't see your name tag that well. What is your last name?
My name is Mira Narayan.
And which high school are you from?
I'm from Ruston High School.
All right, well, thank you for coming tonight, and we'll look forward to hearing from you next month.
She's got a little bit for us now.
Oh, do you? I didn't realize that. Please go ahead.
Alright, so some of the main updates we did at Ruston over the summer was our annual freshman orientation. It was a big success, and it was led by student leaders and students from all aspects of Ruston life. And here we answered questions and helped bridge the gap between middle and high school for the incoming freshmen. It was also at this event that we were introduced to our new principal, Dr. Maggie Hunt. So she led a bunch of presentations and answered questions about herself while also introducing herself to the new freshmen, but also the returning upperclassmen. She also gave us new guidelines and expectations for the upcoming school year, which included the new stoplight system for lunch and learn or nighttime. I'm also very excited to announce that our fall sports are in full swing. So we have a bunch of activities that opened up during the summer, so from marching band to color guard, to dance team, cheer, a bunch of different sports like soccer, field hockey, cross country, football. They all started their practices, their tryouts, their games and meets this summer. We also had our first official win last Friday against Unionville, so go RHS football. And then, of course, today was the first day of school, and as a senior, today I saw some of the most smiles, a lot of laughter, and a lot of excitement, so I'm really excited for the new school year.
Great. I'm so glad you were able to make it tonight, and thank you for that, and we'll look forward to hearing from you and the other student reps next month as well. Thank you. And now we have welcome Ms. Rita, our new Director of Human Resources, who will give us our monthly personnel report.
Thank you. You all should hopefully have all the record of the personnel report. I did want to flag 2 things within it. One is just to honor Kathleen Hoffman, who is retiring after 22 years of service. And then the other is to flag that Michelle McCloy is wrongly listed on the report as being 182 days per year, when in fact she's 261 days. That's all.
Short and sweet, thank you very much, and again, welcome. We look forward to working with you. May I have a motion to approve the August 25th, 2025 personnel recommendations as presented? Director Parkinson, I have a first vote. May I have a second? Vice President Bevilacqua. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We'll now approve the consent agenda. I do not believe we have any amendments or changes to the consent agenda. May I have a motion to approve the August 25th, 2025 consent agenda as listed? Director Dornell, may I have a second? Director Dietrich? All those in favor say aye. 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 Opposed? Motion carries. We'll move on to our monthly school board committee reports. First up is Director Dornell with Teaching, Learning, and Equity.
Thank you, President Fleming. The Teaching, Learning, and Equity Committee meeting met on Monday, August 11th. We approved several pupil services contracts, and we also approved several booster clubs. And then finally, we had a presentation on MTSS by Ms. Kleiman. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Director Dornell. And now we have Director Parkinson with the Personnel Committee report.
Yes, the August Personnel Committee meeting was held immediately prior to tonight's board meeting. The committee approved a job description and position for a communications specialist, as well as a job description and position of pupil services technician. I have 2 agenda items for board vote tonight. First, approval is requested for a new job description and position of communications specialist. I so move.
I have a first from Director Parkinson. May I have a second? Vice President Bevilacqua. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
And secondly, I have an approval request for a new job description and position of a pupil services technician. I so move.
I have a first from Director Parkinson. May I have a second? Director Dietrich. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And now we'll move on to the Property and Finance Committee report with Director Bevilacqua.
Good evening. We had a Property and Finance Committee meeting just preceding the board meeting tonight. As we do on a monthly basis, Mr. Scully provided an update for the budget forecast model, and he went through the to finish up the 24-25 school year budget. There was an increase in the fund balance of $10.6 million, and that will be applied to future designated fund balances for future years. We also took a quick look at the 25-26 budget, and there was an increase in revenues of $5.1 million again early on in that process. We'll continue to monitor that and get updates from Mr. Scully on a monthly basis, as we normally do, and provide updates to the public. Another item that we discussed in tonight's Property Finance Committee was district-initiated appeals, real estate appeals. And the school board authorized the Director of Business Affairs, which is Mr. Scully, to review these records of real estate transactions and properties within our school district boundaries to identify recent sales, which the current assessed value of property sold is at least $1 million less than the assessment suggested by the sales price of the property. The current CLR, also known as the common level ratio, is currently at 31.85%, which is less than it's been in previous years. And based on this criteria in our school board policy 606.2, there are no properties that sold in the year 2025 that meet the criteria for district-initiated appeals for the school year 25-26, so for appeals at this point. Mr. Scully then provided an update on the 24-25 school year RTKs, or also known as right to knows. We had a total of 36 right to knows in the past school year, totaling the price of $7,902. That's kind of the cost of what it takes to fulfill the RTK that's submitted by a resident. Mr. Burster then provided us updates on some capital reserve project bid awards and some capital project bid awards. And these are 2 items on the agenda tonight, listed as items 6 and 7 for approval. And I'll read the approval of these items. Facility and Operation Department seeking approval from the Board of Directors to award contract for district-wide playgrounds for George Eli Associates for a total award price of $10,670. So approval is requested for this 25-26 capital reserve project bid award. So moved.
I have a first from Vice President Bevilacqua. May I have a second? Director Christie. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
I have 1 more item for approval. This is approval for a capital project bid award. Facility and Operation Department seeking approval for directors to award contracts for the following project for the East High School roof replacement. There's some safety railing. The vendor is Safety Rail Sources for a total bid award of $8,175. So approval is requested. This capital project bid award is stated. I so move.
I have a first from Vice President Bevilacqua. May I have a second? Director Dietrich. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
And the next Property and Finance Committee meeting will be held prior to the board meeting on September 29th. And that concludes my report this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Bevilacqua. And now we have Director Dietrich with Policy Review Committee with 16 motions to vote.
Yes, I'll do that. Policy Review Committee met earlier this evening. The committee reviewed a few new time-sensitive administrative guidelines and began our review of Section 800 operations. Our next meeting will be on Monday, September 15th. And tonight, I have several policies for board consideration. First one is approval of approval is requested of a new administrative guideline 235.1 AG1, student research protocol for surveying student advanced placement classes. First reading. I so move.
I have a first from Dr. Dietry. May I have a second? Director Fry? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Approval is requested for new administrative guideline 235.1 AG2, student research protocol for surveying students' classroom activities. First reading. I so move.
I have a first from Dr. Dietry. May I have a second? Director Darnell? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Approval is requested for revised policy 801, public records. First reading. I so move.
I have a first from Dr. Dietry. May I have a second? Director Fry? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Sorry, I say aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Approval is requested for revised policy 801 AG3, fee schedule request for inspection and or copies of public records of the Westchester Area School District. First reading. I so move.
I have a first from Dr. Dietry. May I have a second? Director Parkinson? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Approval is requested of revised policy 802, school organization. First reading. I so move.
I have a first from Dr. Dietry. May I have a second? Director Darnell? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Approval is requested of revised policy 803, school calendar. First reading. I so move.
I have a first from Dr. Dietry. May I have a second? Director Fry? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Approval is requested of revised policy 804, school day. First reading. I so move.
I have a first from Dr. Dietry. May I have a second? And I'm saving my neck by only looking this way. Do you have a comment or question?
No.
Oh, no, you're seconding it? Thank you, Director Walmsley. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I say aye, sorry. Opposed? Motion carries.
Approval is requested of revised policy 805, emergency preparedness and response. First reading. I so move.
I have a first from Dr. Dietry. May I have a second? Vice President Bevilacqua. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Approval is requested of revised policy 805.1, relations with law enforcement agencies. First reading. I so move.
I have a first from Dr. Dietry. May I have a second? Director Darnell. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Approval is requested of revised policy 805.2, school safety personnel. First reading. I so move.
I have a first from Dr. Dietry. Oh, go ahead.
Can I make a friendly suggestion to this? When it left your committee meeting, that policy was amended. So my friendly suggestion would be that it would be to approve that as amended.
As
during
amended,
the
okay.
meeting.
I would move that it is approved as amended.
Okay. I thank you, Ms. Lindquist. I have a motion from Dr. Dietry. May I have a second? Director Walmsley. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Approval is requested of revised policy 807, opening exercises, flag displays. First reading. I so move.
I have a first from Dr. Dietry. May I have a second? Vice President Bevilacqua. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Approval is requested of revised policy 810.4, students transported by district employees. First reading. I so move.
I have a first from Dr. Dietry. May I have a second? Director Walmsley. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Approval is requested of revised policy 811, bonding. First reading. I so move.
I have a first from Dr. Dietry. May I have a second? Director Fry. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Approval is requested of revised policy 812, property insurance. First reading. I so move.
I have a first from Dr. Dietry. May I have a second? Director Christie. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Approval is requested of revised policy 813, other insurance. First reading. I so move.
I have a first from Dr. Dietry. May I have a second? Director Darnell. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
I promise this is my last one. Approval is requested of revised policy 814, copyright materials.
first reading. I so move.
I have a first from Dr. Dietrich, may I have a second? Vice President Bevilacqua, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And was my whole report? Okay. And the next policy committee meeting, did you already say that?
Next policy committee meeting will be on Monday, September 15th.
Okay, thank you very much, Director Dietrich. And I believe now we're moving on. Oh, we have other reports, so we'll start with Director Durnell. Do you have an IU report for this month?
Thank you, President Fleming. The Chester County Intermediate Unit Board of Directors held its monthly meeting on Wednesday, August 20th at the Technical College High School on Boot Road in downtown. A presentation led by the Assistant Executive Director, several other directors and assistant directors, the Director of Career Technical and Customized Education, provided a comprehensive overview of student services and programs for the upcoming 2025-26 school year. BVA reported a successful summer program with 711 students. The Technical College High School, TCHS, anticipates a total enrollment of 3,007 students across its 3 campuses. The team is very excited as we begin another school year, and we look forward to ensuring student success across all programs. The CCIU Board of Directors acted on the following business items. We approved several contracts with districts for services such as managed immutable backup services, professional learning services, MTSS services, and restorative practices coaching, along with other services. We also approved the annual marketplace services contracts with the Westchester Area School District and a number of other districts and schools as well. We also approved an amended contract with the Chester County Sheriff's Office, who will be providing school resource officer program starting on the Coatesville campus for the 2025-26 school year. The next CCIU Board of Directors meeting will be held on Wednesday, September 17th at 7:30 p.m. at a new location, the Engle Education Center in West Grove. That's one of the new facilities that's just been completed that opened really just in time for the new school year.
No, that's great. Another what is it, the occupational certificate that we had done?
Oh, they were very close. Yeah. They were very close too.
There was a flooding a couple times that kind of pushed things back a little bit, but there's going to be a ribbon cutting on that same day on the 17th. If any of the board members are interested in participating, it'll be a fun event.
Great, thank you.
That ends my report.
Thank you, Director Durnell. And we now have Director Christie. Do you have a legislative update for us?
We have not met this month. Our meeting is actually on Wednesday night this month.
Okay, so you can report on that next month, or whenever.
No, well, I can report on.
You
It's
can
always
report
like
on
4
it
weeks
next
in
month.
the past.
It'll be a little
it's
old,
always dated.
it'll be a little stale then, but okay, thank you.
Try to keep it fresh.
Thank you. Maybe there'll be a budget pathway then. And now we move on to other business, and this I will pass it on to you. Oh, you do have it, okay.
Approval is requested of the revised IG and VG settlement agreement and release. I so move.
Okay, we have a first from Director Durnell, and I have a second, Vice President Bevilacqua. Any questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And we're now up for comments from residents on non-agenda items. Do we have any public comment?
There are 3 comments this evening, so I'll read the statement. Now is the time for public comment by residents. The board will follow the procedures established in policy 903. All individuals wishing to comment this evening are required to properly register prior to the designated start time of the meeting by completing the information specified on the public comment registration card. Once called to the podium, each commenter will begin by stating their first and last name and municipality. Each speaker should limit their comments to 3 minutes or less per public comment period. Commenters may not cede their time to other individuals. Individuals will be notified by the time clock when their time allotted for public comment has expired. The board asks that all commentary be directed to the board as a whole. Public comment may be interrupted or terminated if the commentary exceeds 3 minutes or if the commentary is obscene and or threatening in nature. The first commenter this evening is Lynn Strauss.
I am here to speak about field trips. All three of my children graduated from Westchester Area School District. The last one graduated in 2017. Through 3 kids and 17 years from when the first one started and the last one graduated, the only field trip I found controversial was the first grade field trip to Barnum and Bailey Circus. The stories of mistreatment of animals and past use of people as oddities gave me pause. I suppose now, in 2025, I would not send my kids. The Westchester Area School District made a mistake in supporting the circus, and I made a mistake sending my children. Today, I stand here for all the children currently in school district, asking for a review and reconsideration of all your field trips. When my children went to Philadelphia and Washington, D.C. to tour federal parks and museums, I, along with all the other parents, expected our children to learn actual history while having a fun day out of school. Fifth graders should know the Capitol was built by enslaved people, that winning the legal right to vote for non-white landowners who weren't men cost lives and took about 200 years. Parents trusted the signs and plaques our children read. Now the Trump administration is openly bragging they plan to present a positive view of American history. There is already new signage in national parks asking visitors to report any materials that present negative aspects of American history. The White House is planning extensive review of the Smithsonian Institute to ensure that its exhibits reflect the administration's view of American history ahead of the country's 250th birthday, a move that comes amid President Trump's broader takeover of all our nation's cultural institutions. Trump is demanding the removal of all, quote, divisive race-centered ideology, unquote, and content that negatively portrays American history or figures. Teachers and students should not have to review every sign and plaque at parks, monuments, and museums for alternative facts. Those who reject propaganda should not be worried Big Brother is watching and judging their movements in Google searches. I did not speak up against the circus. I guess nobody did. I am speaking up now. No field trips to any locations that have been sanitized and censored. I stand against fascism and field trips that reinforce government propaganda.
Okay, the next speaker is Robert Graves.
Thank you. My name is Robert Graves. I live in the borough of Westchester. I would like to express my gratitude for your consideration of revising policies that have caused the shrinking of service provided by legacy organizations like the Scouts. I and many volunteers in our district are passionately concerned for the future of legacy civic programs in our community. There are many companies, nonprofits, and outside organizations that serve our schools with field trips, guest readers, supplemental education, and after-school programs. The Scouts have been a part of this healthy mix of support for decades in the Westchester area, and we are eager to exist in partnership with schools and administrators. Thank you for your support as we continue our service in the district.
And the last speaker this evening is Courtney Powell.
Hello, I am Courtney Powell. I am from Downingtown, and I have a kindergartner in East Bradford Elementary. And as you said, the tears were very much on the parent side today, not on my daughter's. I wanted to speak about the kindergarten boot camp that was held at East Bradford Elementary this year. It was the first year that it was held. My mom's calling me, of course.
Tell her we said hi.
She's getting the update on the first day as well. So it was the first year that this was held for East Bradford, and I believe there were other elementary schools. And I just can't express how much this was very valuable for us as parents Before the camp, she was extremely nervous about starting school. She would cry at the thought of leaving us, and she worried about what the first day would be like. Like many 5-year-olds, the unknown felt very overwhelming for her. During the 2 weeks of the boot camp, it was 2 weeks of half days, having the chance to walk into the school before it was full of all the other students, to see the classrooms, to meet the teachers, and to get familiar with the routines, it took away so much of her fear. Instead of being anxious, she began to feel comfortable and even proud of herself for being brave. By the end of the program, my same girl that was clinging to me on the first day and crying was running in the door with a huge smile on her face. It also gave her a very strong academic and social head start. She was introduced to some of the things she'll be learning in kindergarten, which made her feel more confident and ready. She practiced lining up, following directions, and working alongside other children in a setting that felt safe and encouraging. She was able to meet a lot of the amazing teachers in advance, and not only did she get to know them, I also did and loved them. When the first real day of school came today, it wasn't scary or overwhelming. It was just very exciting because she already felt like she belonged at that school. As a parent, that peace of mind is priceless. I'm very grateful that this was offered for the first time this year and that we were able to join, and I truly hope it continues in the future. It's clear that the kindergarten boot camp doesn't, sorry, they did switch it to kindergarten roundup. It's clear that the kindergarten roundup doesn't just prepare kids for school, but it sets them up to love school from the very beginning. I do not have any other children, not planning on it at this point, so the fact that I'm here shaking, talking to you guys just to tell you how amazing it was, I hope you can truly understand how strongly we felt about it. So thank you.
Thank you very much to all who commented. That was very, very nice to hear about a newer program, correct? All right. As a closing remark, I do have a quote from William Butler Yeats. Education is not the filling of a pail, but the lighting of a fire. Our next monthly board meeting is Monday, September 29th. Please make a note that the original date was September 15th, but it has been moved down to September 29th. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Director Dietrich, do I have a second? Director Dornell, all those